Over to you, Donya.
Thanks, Amit. So hi everyone, and first of all, thank you all so much for coming this evening. So I'm Donya, I'm one of the account managers at Circus PPC, and I work across a range of retail and lead generation accounts. We've got an excellent panel here this evening, each in their own specialised areas that all help towards conversion rate optimisation. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to each of you to just kind of give a little bit of an introduction, where you're from, why you're here this evening, and your area of expertise. So as you're next to me, I'll pick on you first, John.
So I'm John, I'm from Shoptmised. We're a product feed optimization specialist. So I'm here with these guys to talk about conversion rate optimization today and how we kind of tackle that from a feed optimization point of view.
Hello. I'm Inny. I am one of the account managers in Circus PPC, so didn't travel as far as other two speakers, just from the 5th floor. I worked in Circus for a few years now with e-commerce and lead generation accounts, I think conversion rate optimization is one of the most important topics these days in the current economy and just in general, just developing digital performance. So very happy to be here, very happy to contribute to the chat, and hopefully it will be helpful for some of you.
Hopefully it will be helpful. We'll leave it at that. So I'm Mawson. I head up the partnerships team at Salesfire. I've been doing that for around about 3 years now. We work hand in hand with the team at Circus and Shoptmised. Obviously, they help driving traffic to a website. Our game is everything around personalisation when that person arrives on the site, and how we can basically make sure that you extract the most value from every person that comes to the website.
Thank you for sharing that. So just to kind of reiterate why we're all here this evening as well, it's all about conversion rate optimization, and it's been a tricky couple of years. The economy hasn't been great, so it's just more important now than ever to make sure that we are really optimizing conversion rates. Consumers are just more savvy than ever, so we just really need to give that extra bit of push there. So I'm very curious to know what impact the cost of living crisis has had across each of your own individual sectors. I think I'll start with you, Tim.
Marvellous, this rock and roll. It's a really interesting one. So as a platform, we work with people at different ends of the spectrum. We have some people who sell luxury goods, and in that realm, it seemed like nothing was touched at all. Like if people were going out buying Rolexes, that still continued. But when you were looking at more of the, how do you describe it, like lower end of the spectrum, so maybe fast fashion, impacted quite heavily. It was about how retailers adapted to what was happening outside of their four walls and understanding what they can do to actually make the most of the efforts that they put in via the paid ads, via the SEO, whatever else it might be. And again, it was, we're here to talk about optimization. That is the key part. It's making sure that you are doing the most you possibly can.
Cool. Yeah, Inny, have you got?
Yeah, I think from PPC side, it's more important to make sure that you're targeting the right people than ever. We went from a very interesting period, which was COVID, when everyone were just buying online, and whatever your website, even if it's not performing as well, or even if the ads sometimes reach not as relevant audience, you still reach that performance because online was the only place where people could buy things. And now we went from that to a complete opposite, when it's not just people buying everywhere again, but it's also the economy situation. So how do you make the most out of the audience you target? It's all about what people you reach, where you reach them across different points of touch, and just making sure that they get back to the website when they're ready to convert, when they're ready to buy. So I think it's more important than ever to just cut down wasted spend, to officialize that spending on PPC, just to make sure that you drive as many relevant people to the website as possible. So it's been an interesting couple of years. PPC had to adapt quite a bit, I would say. We're getting there, but definitely you have to test different things. You have to adapt to ever-changing situation, the economical situation, how people live, and I think that impacted PPC quite a bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think as well, everybody's in the same situation, so everyone's been super aggressive and everybody's trying to be more tactile. So it's an interesting market, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how about you, John?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much similar to the guys. I think one of the big changes we've seen, certainly through search, has been how search has actually changed. So the amount of increase that people are looking for cheap, discounted, promotional, and those things are now starting to appear in the search terms, and we can see that through lots of reports. But also what's been interesting is Google have been a bit more visible and vocal about how price factors into Google shopping ads as well, and how that's become a bigger part of the auction and them serving the right ads at the right time. So yeah, and the same as what Tim said, we've seen it on different spectrums in different sectors. So right across the board, you say with luxury, that doesn't really seem to have slowed down at all, because people who have got lots of income just have more income. And then people at the other end of the spectrum are having to be a bit more savvy about what it is that they're going to spend. So we've seen different kind of demands on seasonality. Like this year, February felt like the worst February on record for some time. Even September now, coming out of August into September, you'd usually see kind of 5 to 10% increase in September. But we're seeing September's been a particularly challenging month as well, and we feel like that's because lots of people are saving for quarter four, for Christmas, and then bringing that in as well. And what we obviously understand with February, that's when your credit card bills tend to drop in, so it's having an impact on seasonality in a big way. But it's just a case of how you become more savvier with your strategy and work, because people are still obviously buying online, but it is a lot more challenging.
Yeah, I think we've just got to adapt more now than ever. And yeah, in February, was that when the energy prices went up as well?
Everything went.
Yeah, life went up.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So Inny, I do have a little question for you. Do you think Google's move towards kind of broader match types, do you think that's had an effect on conversion rates and will do?
I think so. I think with the broad match type, you first have to question how is it different, and broad match just drives a lot more people, a lot of traffic to the website. And broad match, the way it works is that it's not necessarily always relevant traffic, the people who you want to attract. So going back to the previous point, what I said, it's more important than ever to make sure that the people you are driving to the website and the clicks that you are paying for are the clicks that are relevant for business, and they are going to convert either immediately or at later stage. So with broad match, I think it's the move that is a little bit counter, against nearly it, but at the same time, we do have means how to work with it. We have negative keywords, we have shared bidding strategies that help algorithm learning. So there are technical ways how you can implement that setup in a bit better way and help algorithm learn. So I think it's very interesting that Google are moving towards that way. They are just trying to compile more and more traffic under a single keyword, a single ad group, just to facilitate that algorithm learning more. Sometimes it goes the right way, sometimes it goes not so well. So you have to keep a close eye as an account manager, and you have to know those strategies, how to control those keywords in a way, because they can go wild, and we all know that they can go wild. So we just have to make sure that we're there. Because if they are starting to drive traffic that is not relevant, then conversion rate will just tank. You can have the most marvelous website, you can have the most optimized shopping feed, but if the people who are clicking on your ads are not relevant, then all of that is just going to go to the bin, really.
Yeah, not what we want.
No,
not what we want, no.
Not what we want at all. So yeah, what advice would you give to a business that's really, looking to improve their conversion rates, coming into Q4, into next year? So yeah, Tim, I'll pick on you first.
I'm going to say as well, this might sound like the most basic bit of advice in the world, but the amount of people that we deal with who don't actually go through the buying journey on their own website and don't understand certain points of friction, they don't understand, for example, one of the biggest bugbears we have is if you go onto a search bar on a website and say you misspell something, or it's a really complex brand, I can't say this brand name, I can't say Napa Bajiri or whatever it is, something like that, so I'm not going to be able to spell it, and if I'm looking for it, it's game over. If I can't find it, it comes up no results found. I'm gone, I'm on to ASOS, I found what I want, that transaction's not staying. The biggest thing that we're trying to sort of educate people on now is that if you don't understand this and you don't understand the friction points, how are you ever meant to understand how you can develop your conversion rate at the same point? How are you meant to kick yourself on, and where are you going to aim to go? It's a really complex piece, but genuinely, if you just take 2 hours out of your day to run through that buying funnel, everything becomes a lot clearer.
Yeah, I think that is such a good point, a really valid point. And just buying something from your own website, because I suppose you might not actually know the whole process and what it's like from an outside perspective.
It's phenomenal as well when you see, we had it before where a retailer had installed Klarna and had integrated it all, they were really happy with it. What they didn't realise was when somebody clicked pay with Klarna, it broke the checkout. So they were sat there and they were going, oh, wait there, I can't actually check out with this, and now it's broke the website, and now I'm furious and I'm gone. That's it, done. And we were like, have you not checked this? Like, how does that work? But yeah, there you go. The weird and wonderful does happen.
Yeah, it does. And how about you, John? Do you have any advice?
Yeah, so I'd always come at this from a feed optimization point of view. So having worked in agency land for quite a while, I've always found that there's one or two strategies clients are either looking for. It's to be more profitable. So it's usually spend a little bit less, try and drive more revenue or increase the ROAS, or they're looking for growth, and growth can cost a lot more money. So when we're looking at feed optimization, it's the strategy around title optimization and description optimization that we're focusing on. And Google weights words and phrases from left to right, so they give more importance to the words at the beginning of the title than they would towards the end. So if you're going to increase conversion rates and drive your ROAS higher, it would be better to use terms such as what is product specific. So is it men's trainers, the size, the colour, for instance. Whereas if you were going for sort of growth and you wanted to get more traffic into your website, then you go with more generic terms. So you might go and start with Nike trainers at the beginning because it's a very high volume keyword. And then after that, it depends on what your CRO kind of strategy is once that traffic lands on your website, because you can optimize two very different ways. So you can try and bring in niche traffic that is already further down the buying funnel that you would expect to convert, that's quite high, or you can bring in that top of funnel traffic, and then what landing page you drop them on from that point of view. So if you're bringing in top of funnel traffic, or you're dropping them on a landing page where there's a product but then there's more options around the product, there's more variants, they can see more opportunities of products to buy, or if at the bottom of the funnel are you just dropping them into this is exactly what this product is and you're ready to buy at that point because you've already passed those indications of you know exactly what you want, the shoe, the colour, the size, and you could put further buying signals in there as well. So it's making sure that whatever you do from that feed point of view, that it marries into whatever you're doing from your CRO strategy, and making sure that you're not trying to drop top of funnel traffic onto a landing page that is designed to be very specific to one product, because your bounce rate just goes sky high.
Your conversion rate will go down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that is a really, really interesting point there as well, just to make sure that everything's aligned in how you're wanting to deliver those sales. Inny, do you have any?
Yeah, I would say two things from PPC side really. First is really understand your audience. If you want to optimize for them to buy something from your website, then you have to understand how they think, so you could persuade them with the website content why they should buy from you. You should understand how they word your products even, because you can say trainers, you can say sneakers, and there are so many different synonyms that you can name a single product, and different types of people might use different wording. So it's really from understanding your audience, understanding how they communicate, how they think, how do you persuade for them to buy from your website. And then second thing is just coming back to cutting down wasted spend. That's what we're doing in Circus. It's a big thing that is for us as well. How we make our clients grow is not just by just spending a lot of money suddenly. It's finding the areas that you first need to sort out to cut down the spending in the areas that are not performing that well, and then find what are the areas that you want to expand, that you want to gain more from. So I think that really helps to control the conversion rates as well on the account, because you don't have part of the audience, part of the traffic that is going by PPC that is just not converting. So if you constantly keep an eye on the account and you constantly cut out that spending, then it will help you a lot with overall conversion rate optimization.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing. You've just got to be super on it and really making sure that every single pound spent is as efficient as it possibly can be.
Yeah, exactly. And like some products, for example, you might have products on the website that you don't necessarily want people to buy a lot even. So if those products are not bringing you high profit margins, you might want to have them on a website as a nice add-on, but you might not want to spend a lot of money to advertise them. So again, it's just finding where this algorithm spend your money and making sure that it's not overspending in the areas that might be a lot of sales, but if the profit is not there, then why would you push them? So it's answering a lot of questions, understand your audience, understanding how people search for products, and understanding what products you want to sell to make sure that you get the profit that you need.
Yeah, fantastic insight there, Inny, thank you. So does anybody have any success stories that you'd like to share? Tim, you look like you've
I did my research on the train, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. It's just really all around, like I said prior, it's about understanding, as Inny said there, the customer journey. It's what John said about understanding how somebody's finding your website and what you're wanting them to be on that website to do, like what is the action you want them to take and what is the desired outcome. Obviously money at the end of it would be ideal. The biggest thing for me in terms of a success story is it's more to do with understanding what adding a third party to your website can actually do. Now, a lot of people talk about it from a site speed perspective and say adding third parties isn't the best thing to do. The biggest thing we found though is if somebody, what was the specific stat? If a person engages with your site search on the website, they are 2.5 times more likely to convert. Like, that is a ridiculous start to begin with. But then by the time you factor in things where you can add in like voice and image search, which the younger generation are really keen on mobilising on the mobiles using and whatnot. Mobilising's a bad word, isn't it? Doing all that sort of stuff. It's more catered again to that specific audience that you have and that market that you're going after, that demographic, and being able to understand what you can provide as tools on the site to make that conversion flow that little bit better.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. John, do you have?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about specific success stories, and it would be really easy to think about a client that we've worked with where before we worked with them everything was shopping, which is those are kind of the easy ones, and unfortunately you see them way too often. But I think real success stories is where you've been able to get those marginal gains, where you're working with someone who's already done a really good job, and it's about sort of understanding what they wanted to do as a business, whether they're trying to be more profitable or get better growth in certain ways. And a lot of the things we try and focus on kind of above and beyond just doing feed optimization, it's, to be honest, it's a lot similar to what Inny's just said, is understanding which products convert really well, and then understanding which products don't convert really well. So we'll do a lot of work with people where we'll spend a lot of time working on understanding what the products are that don't work very well, because there's a story to be told there as to why there's a reason that they're not doing it. And a lot of the time they're not optimized correctly in the right way, or their price point isn't correct, or certain products over certain prices have got the wrong delivery. And we've kind of getting to a point where with some of our clients where we've been able to give them feedback on these are all the products that aren't working for you, and these are all the reasons why, and these are the things we suggest you go away and fix. And for us, that's kind of real success then, seeing them starting to drive sales out of those products and fix those issues around that. Because there's a lot to be said about the sort of positive narrative. We can focus too often on the stuff that's doing really, really well, and you ignore everything else. And I think on average, the average retailer's website's got something like 2,700 products, but more often than not, it's 13% of the products driving 100% of the revenue, and there's lots of products that are still in there that can be sold. And I think that's where we kind of see, well, it's not our biggest success stories, but our most rewarding success stories is kind of focusing on those areas.
Yeah, and I suppose it's just so nice that you're able to provide this valuable data, which then can be used to help drive that success.
Yeah, I mean, or maybe we're just morbid, we're fascinated with the stuff that's rubbish. It could be that.
And how about you, Inny? Do you have any success stories to share?
I would share probably one that's a bit of opposite what John said. It's not about the companies that are already sizable, but it's the companies that you grow nearly from scratch. So I had the honor of working with one of the accounts that we work with, but I wasn't the only account manager, so it came for a few people. And when Circus started working with that company, they just opened the company. It was husband and wife who were working in that company, and they knew about the industry because they worked in the same industry in other companies that became their competitors. And their first office was the bedroom, and that's when they started working with marketing, with PPC, and we grew them to tens of thousands of budget a month. Make it profitable, and they changed a few offices because their team was growing a few times. They changed the warehouse because they were growing as well. They were selling more products. They needed more stock in, more stock out. So I think it's that story when you talk with the director of that company, and then you look back that, oh, we actually did that in like 5 years, I think. That they started just a few years ago from their bedroom, and now they're operating in their second proper office, if we don't count the bedroom. They operate in the second proper office with a second size warehouse, and they're just looking ahead and they want to expand further. So that's when, to me, that's when you realize that, oh, actually PPC actually really, really worked for them, because that was their main channel that was driving them that success, that growth. So I think that's when you can measure it. For me, that's the beauty of it. I think that's the growth in it.
Yeah, and just being part of that journey and seeing them grow and
Yeah,
sharing
exactly.
success.
I think that's like one of the hardest things to do, to take somebody from scratch
Yeah.
and take it from there. It's much easier to build on data, whether it's terrible or whether it's good, because at least you've got data.
Exactly.
But to go from zero to that is one of the hardest things you can ever do in digital.
Yeah, it's really nice to have those success stories in a company, and like even if you're not the only account manager, like if there have been a few people working with it, you still feel like you put a little bit there, a little touch of your imprint that you've contributed to it. So like it's a nice feeling to have.
Yeah, fantastic. So now I think we'll deep dive a little bit into each of your individual areas. So John, as you're next to me, I'll pick on you again. I know we might have already covered a little bit of the situations here, but yeah, what would you say can be done in Shoptmised and within the feed to really improve on conversion rates?
So there's a few things, right? And someone sat in the audience, Johnny over there, we got this idea from Johnny, but he kind of came up with this, to be fair. I claim it's mine all the time. So one of the smart things that Johnny did is he sort of, we started as a product feed optimization platform. We were laser focused on Google. And one of the things that we did quite well from the off, and it's kind of become a bit of an industry norm now, was we pull performance data in to work out what products are working really well, what products aren't, allow them to label them, and then push them back into Google Ads, and you can segment them that way. And it just gives the ability for people to be able to focus more of their money on what is working really well. But then that's also how we understand what isn't working well, and we can do that piece around it. But I never thought in my head about the different channels. Johnny actually did that. So he utilised that, and then he took that and used that performance data and then be able to push it into different channels. So kind of that led me to think, wow, there's something in that. There's a lot of value in that. So I did the opposite. I don't tell people what Johnny did, to be fair to Johnny. That's his thing. But we did the opposite with a few retailers. So again, we looked at the products that either didn't have a great margin or weren't selling very, very well. And we were encouraging retailers to spin that into their affiliate feeds and push that through affiliate channels to get growth that way. Because there's products that you can sell all day long on your website that your best sellers are going to sell. And there's no point in having affiliate channels that continually just sell the same things that you're going to sell anyway, because you've still got all that stock sitting for everything else. So it was looking about what you can do over and above necessarily going into Google Shopping into different channels, and how you can get growth going from different ways and doing things differently. And then obviously with the Facebook piece as well, you have to optimize your feed completely differently for Facebook. So Facebook, I know you can do lifestyle images in Google Shopping now, or you can put them in the feed. God knows where they go, because we've never seen them. But different images can go into Facebook, different title optimization, different descriptions. So it's just understanding a lot of the things that we do is around, start off as feed optimization, and then it became more performance data, product flow, and then how you optimize that data once it's going into different channels.
Yeah, what a brilliant strategy, thinking outside the box. Love it. And what would you say about Performance Max and Performance Maxes?
Performance Max. So Performance Max it's like a blessing and a curse. So ultimately, when we track results are better. But you don't have that control. And one of the things that we used to do quite well in the first instance of Shoptmised is we used to pull all the search term data in, and then we used to be able to go through that data to optimize titles. And you can't, with Performance Max, you can't do that now, because even the search term data they give you is kind of anecdotal. It'll tell you, oh, you're doing really well on this, but it's like impressions and clicks and not necessarily conversions. So it's frustrating from that point of view, where you're losing that control over your cost per click, you're losing that control over your search term visibility. But it's I guess it's forced you to be a bit more innovative of then how you manage the campaigns. And we've got into trouble off Google. We did a joint Google webinar where we sat there with Google and put on a big spiel about Performance Max and why we thought it was great. and then told, I think we had like 300 people on the webinar, and we told every single person not to put audiences in or add images. Don't put any of them in at all, because you can keep the traffic. I think on average 98% shopping if you don't do those things. And Google threatened to never do a webinar with us ever again. wouldn't let us then put the recordings up or anything like that, because it's very much against what they want. Because with Performance Max, they wanted to go through all these different channels because they want to sell more ad inventory that you don't have more control of. But there is those mechanics that you can pull through Performance Max to control the shopping traffic and make sure that increases. Because I think one of the big things, lots of small retailers jumped. Some of them still don't know their own Performance Max because their campaigns converted and changed. But when that happens, people don't still understand how much shopping traffic they actually lost. So if they were going through Smart or Standard and they were doing 100% shopping traffic, when that change happens, they then went to 70% shopping traffic, and the rest is made up between Gmail, Display, YouTube. And there's still a load of people out there that don't actually understand that, and Google don't share it. And we've asked Google time and time again, do you have any plans to share this information? And they have no plans to ever share that information whatsoever. So whilst we've seen Performance Max perform better, and when I say perform better, it can drive a higher average order value, and that's one of the things that we've seen it do really well, and that is because it's using their algorithms, their machine learning, and it's going after the right type of customers. There's loads of trade-offs. So
we could have like a whole evening on Performance Max just alone next time.
Yeah. I feel like I've got PTSD.
Oh, well, thanks for the insights there. So Tim, what can be done on a website to improve conversion rates?
It's absolutely relentless. Like, conversion rate as a subject is like it's quite dry, let's be honest with you. Like, people sit there and they analyse every little part of a website and want to understand it. I know that's quite contradictory to what I've just said about analysing your full customer journey, but there's so many times where we speak to people and they go, well, what I've done this month is I've changed the buy button from green to gold because gold's winning. And you're like, what? Yeah, that might do you like what? A micro like percentage or something like that. It's not the be all and end all. I think the biggest thing that we try to implore retailers to do is to understand how to take back a bit of control on your website as well. A lot of people get a Shopify store or they get whatever platform set up and go, jobs are good, I've got my website now. But then how do you control, like these guys are saying, what products are put in front of your customers at the right time? If I'm looking at a jacket, do I want to be looking at the jeans to go with it at the same point, the most commonly bought, or do I want to look at something that's completely different, flipped on its head, outfit style? I think the biggest thing to really take away from it is your standard platform won't give you the level of control that you need to really merchandise effectively. And by using people like Circus and Shoptmised as well, where they're doing all this work to control the journey to the site, you then want to take the step of controlling it when they're on the site as well. And that's the biggest part for me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And Inny, what can be done in a Google Ads account to improve conversion rates?
So much.
Okay. We're having a sleepover.
Well, we have our own condenser stuff. No, it's like, I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, where is your money going? If you understand where is your money going, you will, if you really take time to understand where the money is going, you will find the areas where it shouldn't be going, really. So let's say we talk a lot about Google, but let's take Microsoft Ads, for example. They changed, I think it was back in February, they changed their structure, like they no longer allowed to get rid of fully audience ads. So they're just automatically included your search campaigns. And to me it was like the question, like when I see the line of audience ads, how much they spend and that they're not converting for a lot of clients, the question was like, why? Like, why do we spend? How do we not spend there? And then the more questions you ask, then you find workarounds, because yes, the search engines, they do want us to spend more money. That's how they make money. So it's the same Performance Max. Like, they don't want to share the data, how much of traffic goes to search, how much of traffic goes to shopping, how much of traffic goes to display, discover, and other channels. But because there are a lot of professionals in the field that get frustrated with these things, people start coming up with creative solutions for those things. And once you start getting frustrated with those things, then you start finding those solutions. So now we have, for example, a script for Performance Max that you can see roughly, it's not 100% accurate, but you can see rough understanding of how much money is going to those different channels of Performance Max. For Bing, for previous Bing, now Microsoft ads, with audience ads, you could see a workaround. You can find a report where every single URL where your ad was placed, and you can exclude those URLs. So you can find websites that serve your ads and spend, let's say, £300 a month and don't drive a single conversion. And then once you start asking those questions, why am I spending my money there? And why is this not converting, and what I can do about it? At first, the answer might seem like, well, you can't do anything about it because you just can't see the data. But the more frustrated you get, the more you start looking for those creative solutions. And it's not like we're not alone in this field, and there are people who are looking for the same creative solutions. So when we put our heads together, then we can find those creative solutions and find the workarounds, and then we can start improving the returns, the conversion rates, and all of that. So I think it's just understanding where the money is going and being probably frustrated enough to not agree with the things that are not working in the account. So I think that helps a lot, just to find the answers that you're looking for and understand why things are working in the certain way that they do.
Yeah, I think a lot of detective work is key, especially as, you know, the platforms they do hide things, or it's the black box. You've got to go digging deep in there to try and find what you need.
Exactly. Sometimes you find certain things, let's say automatically created assets at Google, like you have to like go through literally page after page after page, and you're like, am I even in the right place? And then you finally reach where you can turn the things off and don't give Google that extra power. But then you realize how much Google not want you to find it, because it's hidden so far away that if you don't know where to find it, you will never find it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Inny. So my last question this evening for the panel is one thing to take away from our chat today. So, John?
I think one thing to take away is to nail your strategy. So know what you're working towards, and then making sure that everything lines up between what you're doing from your feed to what you're doing in your marketing, and then what you're doing on your website. So it all just lines up. Too often we see people top of funnel, wrong landing page, and vice versa. It's just sort of, if you understand what your strategy is, and everyone's aligned, and all your partners are aligned, and your different agencies and software understand as well, then everyone can work in unison.
Yeah, super important. Know your direction and head there. Inny?
Understand where your money is going and where you want your money to go, and then once you have those 2 points, you will find the route where to achieve that. But always also be open to question whether you even chose the right direction to go, because sometimes you might think that, I want to sell more of that because it gives good profit margin, and then what we can do as PPC experts, like we can take you there. If you're telling us you want to go that direction, we can take you there most of the time. But if you get there and you don't like the results, well, you will have to try to find another direction and admit that. So find out where your money's going, find out where you want to go, but always be open to question your judgment as well.
Yeah, totally agree there. Thanks, Inny. Tim?
I think it follows on from Inny, to be fair. Like, people view conversion rate optimization as I literally have implemented this strategy and that is that. The key part is to test and actually evaluate what you're doing, like understanding, like Inny says there, does somebody react different from a different traffic source? Like, if someone's coming from TikTok, do they need a different type of messaging to someone from Google Ads and whatnot? And again, it's quite common for people to turn around and go, oh, we set this strategy off, it's doing really well, there you go, leave it, that'll work. But what happens if there's a change in algorithm, or what happens if there's mitigating circumstances like we've had where things can go wrong pretty quickly? And I think it's just being key, is like being able to understand that there is a time to adapt and there's a time to appreciate the strategy you have. And it's about understanding how you can actually differentiate between the two and create a strategy from that chaos, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's key. And just always being on the ball, testing and learning. And, you know, we have to constantly evolve in this ever-evolving landscape.